how do you feel?
Well, we don't feel that he's actually a hero. We just feel that he's a man who was at the right place at the right time, who did the right thing. As far as what happened to him, it's very disappointing and it's very sad, you know, but you know, things happen and God willing, people learn from them. And hopefully these mistakes won't happen again.
Are you suing?
We are. From the beginning. Because I was so angry. I can't describe the feelings that I had. And again, I thought it was revenge that I wanted, but it really wasn't revenge. It was justice. But I think we're at peace with it now. I think I'm not angry anymore about it. And we still don't know what's going to happen with the lawsuit anyway. I know they threw it out one time and it was brought back in. I mean, they could still throw it out. Who knows? Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen with it. It's just sitting there, just like my husband did.
The main reason the story got out because of the lawyer, because he wanted her
yes.
to put everything in paper.
And what do you hope to accomplish with the lawsuit?
Well, I think some things have already been accomplished, thank God. I think they learned their mistakes from Katrina. I saw that with Gustav. They did things a lot differently, actually. I would hope that they wouldn't stereotype as bad. I think there was a lot of stereotyping, intentionally or not. Unfortunately, it did happen. And I say this because my husband was at this house, our house, and he was arrested, and our neighbor across the street, who was at his house, he was picked up and sent to a different place, wherever he wanted to go. So unfortunately, there was a lot of stereotyping, and I hope that they learned their lessons, at least from this story, that, you know, don't judge somebody just by appearance.
Finally, Zaytoun, has it shaken your faith in America?
Not, I mean, the life, I think, moving forward, because now the life getting better. Now we see a lot of improvement in the city, and the children. I mean, for me, like myself, I like to forget all about it, and I would like keep look for in the future with a smile, because I mean, in the past doesn't take us anywhere. We should just go ahead, focus about rebuild, do right things, and build relationship with everybody else. Especially with we have a lot of new people in the city, and we have some. I mean, most of the all original people back. We have like now in my neighborhood, we have plenty new neighbors, so we have the original neighbors. We back together and everything go back close to normal.
Abdul Rahman and Kathy Zaytoun speaking to us from New Orleans. When we come back from break, we'll return to Dave Eggers, the celebrated writer who chronicled their story in his latest book, Zaytoun. It just won the American Book Award. Stay with us. Germain, Saint-Germain. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. We're broadcasting on over 850 stations on Pacifica and NPR, and low-power FM and college and community radio stations, on public access TV and PBS TV stations, and both TV satellite networks, on Dish Network, Channel 9415, Free Speech TV, 9410 Link TV, and on DirecTV, Channel 375. And we're video and audio podcasting at democracynow.org. Our headlines are also available in Spanish for any radio station to take. As we return now to our global broadcast exclusive, we go back now to writer Dave Eggers, whose nonfiction work, Zaytoun, tells the story of Abdulrahman and Kathy Zaytoun in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina 5 years ago. Zaytoun going from American hero to terrorist in the eyes of the U.S. authorities. I spoke to Eggers Thursday and asked him to describe the conditions under which Abdulrahman Zaytoun was held when he was arrested in New Orleans in the aftermath of the storm.
The prison had been erected by trustees of Angola, and the guards were manning it, along with it being a home base for a lot of National Guardsmen. And so once they were handed off, that was the last the arresting officers saw of them. And then they were in the hands of this whole other body that took a look at, our assumption is that they took a look at the last names and origins of Nasser and Zaytoun in particular, and thought, we might have something really interesting on our hands. And so that's when they were visited by Homeland Security representatives, and that's when they had a very strange circumstance where another man was put in their cage, and sort of in an attempt, Zaytoun believes, to get them talking, would try to provoke them with anti-American rhetoric. It was very strange. And but I think that this, again, the successive nature of handing them off from one body to the next, and once they were put on a bus and sent to Hunt Correctional Facility, then they were lost even deeper in the system. No one was really tracking them and others, because very good record keeping was not being kept, and they weren't subject to the same rights of prisoners at Hunt who had been processed adequately. And so, and I think that, you take a lot of National Guardsmen, many of whom, and military personnel, many of whom had been in Iraq and Afghanistan, and many of whom were believing the hype that this city was out of control and that they were entering a war zone. And it's no wonder that they would say to Zaytoun and Nasser, you guys are al-Qaeda, you guys are Taliban, and suspect them. And I think that climate right then was very troubling. And so it led to this military solution to a humanitarian problem. And I think that there was a paranoia in the air that didn't serve anybody very well. And Ralph Gonzalez, one of the arresting officers from New Mexico, told me, he said he had been led to believe that they were entering a war zone, and that what they were sent there to do, fully armed with machine guns and body armor and armed to the teeth, was an operation for command and control. But what they found within hours of landing in the city was that they were needed mostly for search and rescue. And so I think that as much as so many agencies tried to do their best, I think that the climate and the misinformation and the misplaced priorities led to some very unfortunate results.
Zaytoun got very sick in the jail and in the prison.
Yeah, first he had, a very bad cut on his foot in that he was getting infected while he was at Camp Greyhound. And here's a guy, he's old school, he's incredibly resilient. He's not one to complain about an injury, but he couldn't get help. Doctors would go to and fro, and they wouldn't stop to help him. And then once he was at Hunt, he couldn't get any help at all, and he felt like he had an incredible pain in his side that was eating away at him, and he didn't know what it was. And so, but of course, he got no medical attention there. And again, he was left there to think, because nothing was improving. He had no reason to believe that he might ever be released. If you haven't gotten adequate legal representation and you're not able to contact your family, what reason does he have to believe that he will ever get out? And I think a lot of the prisoners that did Katrina time were in that same circumstance, where none of the rights that we expect were there, and it turned into a Kafkaesque situation.
Dave Eggers, when Kathy finally learned